I'll take the label hypocrisy if you want. Last night, I kind of felt that way about the Pistons effort. I really did. And I think it's because the Pistons are without 5 key contributors. When you're missing your best player, Cade Cunningham, calf injury, we seem to forget. It's convenient, I understand, because they've won and they've been hard charging even without him. But without Jaden Ivey, who wore one of the more ridiculous outfits I've seen, I can't figure this out for the life of me. These guys make millions of dollars and they dress like they went to the dollar store. If they're hurt, they dress. I mean, Cade Cunningham, who I like a lot, you know that. This dude signed he's a multi-millionaire, over $100 million. And this guy's dressing like he picked up all his clothes at a secondhand store. I don't get it. But I digress. You're without Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham. You're without Isaiah Stewart. You're without Ron Holland. And you're without Marcus Sasser. And though you're down 17, you creep to within 4 of what is arguably the best team in the NBA. Record-wise, they are. I know you only know Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because that's all we ever talk about with Oklahoma City. But they're really deep. That's a really good basketball team. They may win the championship, and they had all hands on deck. And what did Detroit do? They hung tough. They hung tough with Lindy Waters playing 18 minutes. They hung tough with Paul Reed playing 15 minutes and snatching 9 rebounds. Good for them. They hung tough because Tim Hardaway scored 21 of his 23 in the first half. And even though, it looked like he missed the box out in the final tap in off the glass at the end of the half, he was their offense in that opening half. Unfortunately, he only scored 2 points in the second half. But he was shooting lights out in the first half. And they lose 119-103. Perhaps the final score doesn't necessarily indicate how close the game was at times. Big third quarter run for Oklahoma City to start 10-0. So that doesn't help. But overall, I was rather encouraged. Gilgeous-Alexander, by the way, scored 33. And that means he has 69 consecutive games of 20 points or more. That is tied for fourth most, in NBA history. Wilt Chamberlain scored it 20 or more 80 consecutive times, twice. Oscar Robertson did it 79 times in a row. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Michael Jordan have now done it 69 consecutive games. How good is Oklahoma City? Lead the league in wins, and they've won 11 in a row. Perhaps peaking at the right time. Naysayers will go, I don't know, man. You still have a number of games left, right? You got 76 overall, 6 games left. You might be peaking a little early. Bullcrap. They've been playing this way the whole time. They've got 64 wins for crying out loud. I think they're okay. Pistons did turn it over 18 times. That was a concern, but again, didn't have their primary ball handler out there. What is it, 5 straight games now? Cade Cunningham has been out with a calf injury. This is why I said the other day, and I read an article yesterday, I believe. Maybe it was 2 days ago. Pistons hearkening back to the days of the bad boys, and this is what the NBA needs. And this is what you and I were talking about a little bit the other day. I'm all for sticking up for your teammates. I am all for playing aggressive. and being physical. I think you have to do that. I do. But you also have to be smart. Last night, they could have used any of those guys. And I know you can pick, I believe you have a choice. There's a certain amount of time where you have to choose when you're going to serve your suspension. But it would have been nice to have one or two of those guys, wouldn't it, last night? Detroit's magic number to clinch a playoff spot remains at 1. They can get that tomorrow night in Toronto, or tonight if Orlando loses to Washington, which probably isn't going to happen. Dallas beat Atlanta, by the way, 120-118. Anthony Davis had 34 points, 15 rebounds, 5 blocks. It's important to also follow teams you're supposed to be chasing. It wasn't too long ago we had this debate. Do you want to play Indiana eventually, or would you want to play Milwaukee? And I said, I'd rather play Milwaukee. I think Indiana's tough. Tyrese Haliburton had a double-double last night, had an awesome pass on a breakaway, in which he just kind of bounced it. And when it was, I think it was Toppin, grabbed it and jammed it down, brought the crowd to its feet. Sweet pass. But the Pacers are playing really good ball. And they have for most of the year. They beat Charlotte. Their lead over Detroit for the 4 seed is now 3. For what that's worth, I mean, I know we're excited that Detroit's going to qualify for the playoffs for the first time in 6 years. I know we're excited they'll probably be the 5 seed, but I was greedy. I thought they were good enough to reach the 4 seed. I really did. And I still think they are, but they don't have much time left. With only 6 games left and trailing Indiana by 3, I think it's okay to settle in and think this is where you're going to be. I hope things change, but I doubt it will. Tiger's story in Seattle. And we all know, based on last night, and you'll be talking about it or hearing about it all morning too, about the mental part of the game. For younger players too, the games speed up on them. Colt Keith played a lot last year. He owned making a massive mistake that cost Detroit the sweep, you could argue. We'll explain what that is, what that was, and how you learn from it as we roll on a Thursday morning on X's and Bros. We are brought to you this hour by our friends at Ferris Coffee, the official coffee maker of the Detroit Lions, and available in all 50 states.
Coming right at you, the excitement you've been waiting for. Eagle Casino and Sports, the mobile casino made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Play slots and table games with live dealers at one exciting site, playeagle.com. Sign up today and get a match deposit up to $1,500. That's right, up to $1,500 plus 100 free spins. Eagle Casino and Sports. Go to playeagle.com and start winning today. Must be 21 or older and in Michigan to play.
No sticks, no pucks, no goals, and no holds barred. It's Bare Knuckles Ice Wars. Coming to Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort Saturday, June 14th. 900 square foot ice box, 90-second rounds, 2 combat fighters, and they're on skates. Bare Knuckles Ice Wars. Tickets starting at $50. On sale now at boxofficeoretickets.com. History in the making. June 14th at Soaring Eagle. Doors at 6. Show us at SoaringEagleCasino.com. Bare Knuckles Ice Wars. Who needs a pub?
Huge here for my good friends from Insurant. Now, they understand inflation is driving up the cost of everything here in the state of Michigan, including auto insurance. But you don't have to overpay any longer. Insurant helps Michigan drivers compare quotes fast so you can find the best deal on a rate and start saving today. Call 231-COMPARE now or visit insure.it. Shop, compare, save at insure.it.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious blueberries, money saved. A creamy treat of cookie dough ice cream, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also 10 points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Van Andel Institute Purple Community is a grassroots fundraising network powered by the dedicated volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve human health now and in the future. When you raise funds through the Van Andel Institute Purple Community, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the Institute's research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's, as well as VAI's science education programs. Learn how you can get involved at purplecommunity.org.
On the defensive end, had to lock in. We started slow throughout the game. I think they had like 40 in the first quarter. But in the fourth quarter, like the first 6 minutes, they had like 5 points, and that's when we came back. So just knowing our identity as a defensive team and, taking that forward, now we know. We knew before, but it's good to have a reminder.
That's Asar Thompson, 13 points, 9 boards last night. He's right. Oklahoma City scored 41 in the first quarter. Detroit turned the tables on them for the most part. Nice job in the second quarter, then that third. It was the first and third quarter that really did Detroit in as much as anything else. They struggled offensively in the fourth, played Oklahoma City even. But the Thunder win at 119-103. They've won 11 in a row. They have a league-high 64 wins. Thompson had that line that I just described, but also was a minus 14 while on the floor. Actually, I'll tell you, I thought it's hard to say. I thought he played well in watching him, but every time I say that, I have to remind myself, don't know the responsibilities. Case in point, the tap in just before the buzzer sounds at the end of the half. And I know people may think, that's not that big of a deal. Put him down, whatever it was for, whatever. Who was responsible for the box out? Tim Hardaway's looking around. People assume that it's Hardaway since he's closest to the basket. I don't know that. And I don't think anybody does unless J.V. Bickerstaff answers a question like that. But overall, I thought Detroit hung in there tough. I'm not into moral victories at this time of the season, but when you're without as many players as they were missing, dressing in street clothes, I get why some people would be encouraged by that. Mariners salvaged one of the games of the 3 games set against the Tigers, 3-2 the final there. Dylan Moore's fourth inning homer really turned out to be the difference maker. Trey Sweeney had a solo bomb in the fifth. Riley Green had an RBI in the same inning for Detroit's lone runs. Green, the only player with more than one hit, he had a couple. Tarek Skubal suffered the loss, gave up 6 hits, 3 runs in 5 2/3 innings. And this is why sometimes when you attach a loss to a guy, you attach how many hits and how many runs allowed. You have to be careful unless you watch the game like you and I did. When Colt Keith, with 2 outs and a runner on first, and the runner's on the move during the pitch, and there's a ground ball to Colt Keith, and he spins one way to get the force out at second for some odd reason, and then has to spin all the way around to try to get the out at first base, but it's too late, and it keeps the inning alive, and then Seattle goes on to score 2 runs. That's why you go, wait a minute now, is that on Tarek Skubal? You can blame him for walks if you want. You can blame him for not necessarily having the great control, and he didn't. But this is why the line associated with him, we're not going to remember this. We won't remember this in late August and early September when we're talking about the number of wins and losses, the number of earned runs. How they mark that as a hit is a little confusing to me.
Yeah, I didn't get that
give
part.
Somebody an error when it's more of a mental error. You really can't do that. But the official score, is it a reasonable way to make a play? Colt Keith didn't make a throw. So where's the error? Besides the mental part of it, he fielded the ball cleanly. He didn't throw the ball. It wasn't a throwing error. It wasn't a fielding error. What was it? It's a mental error.
Well, he did throw it to first. It was just late.
It was late. Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no error there. He didn't throw
right.
it
I see what you mean. Technically, yeah.
Where's the error? How do you mark that down? You can mark it as a fielder's choice, I suppose, but there's no out recorded. So what do you do?
Right.
So that's why it's very dangerous. First of all, there's a couple dangers here. The assumption, Tarek Skubal's on the mound, we're going to win.
That's what I thought.
I said yesterday. What did I say? Luis Castillo's really flipping good, man. He was really good in Cincinnati, and he's been really good in Seattle. Be careful. I said, don't assume anything. That's what I said yesterday, if you were listening. Tarek Skubal goes out. It's not like he was terrible. He just wasn't dominant like we're used to seeing him be dominant. It happens. He's not a robot, man. But he gets saddled with the loss. The home opener is tomorrow against Chicago. It'll be Jack Flaherty against Jonathan Cannon, and we want you to go. You have one more day, or maybe even half a day, because today we're going to draw the winner of 2 tickets to opening day. Bill Simonson will broadcast live this afternoon from Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. He's going to draw the name of the person who wins the 2 tickets. What they're going to get is a free dinner tomorrow night with Bill and yours truly and Craig Monroe. You're going to go 2 nights at Soaring Eagle on us, and we're going to send you to and from opening day against the Chicago White Sox at Comerica Park tomorrow. How do you do that? Well, the text is Tigers to 2100 or 21,000, excuse me. Tigers to 21,000, and you got to be present to win. So we're hoping to see you out there later on today at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. The Red Wings, they're in action tonight. They're going to or tomorrow night, I should say. They're going to welcome Carolina to town. You get a chance to do a double-double there, right? A little double dip. You can go to Pistons, or go to the Tigers game, and then you go to Red Wings game. It's a must-win for them. They sit 4 points back with 8 games left. They're going to take on a Carolina team that just beat Washington last night 5-1 and has now won 9 of their last 11. Detroit, by the way, has dropped 3 of 4 and 12 of their last 16. In that Washington loss, by the way, Alexander Ovechkin scored again. His 892nd career goal to creep within 2 of the all-time record. The 39-year-old now has 39 goals on the season, and he's netted at least 1 goal in 17 of the last 25 games. That is getting it done. He's going to have at least a 40-goal season. Amazing. Just doesn't happen very often. I know you'd love to turn the clock back a little bit, go back to the days of Wayne Gretzky or Mike Bossy or Mike Gardner or things like that, and think, you know what? I need a goal scorer. I need a 40-goal goal scorer. We would love to have that. Who wouldn't love that on their team? Right now, there are 2 who have scored 40 goals. Leon Draisaitl has 52, by the way. 52. Among the best goal scorers in the world. William Nylander has 42. But as I've told you before, but it's always good to remind you, how many goal scorers were there of 40 or more a year ago? Well, there were 17. 17 guys scored 40 goals or more last season, including, some would say, an aging Sidney Crosby. Sure doesn't play like he's aging, if you ask me. Anyway, so Alexander Ovechkin's 892. Rangers used overtime to beat the Wild 5-4, so they now boast 79 points. Tied with Montreal for the second wild card spot, 4 clear of the Wings. I give you that only because it's nice to know who you're chasing. Too many teams to leapfrog, too many teams with something to play for, too many teams that are playing better hockey than you, unfortunately. So tomorrow night is a must win. What do you love most about opening day? That is the poll question. You must answer for us. Please, please. What do you love most about opening day? We give you tailgating, bar hopping, the game itself, or ditching work. Vote as often as you like at XB Mornings, and we'll give you the results tomorrow in the 8 o'clock hour when we broadcast live from Soaring Eagle Casino and Resorts Ascend Sportsbook with Craig Monroe. He'll join us tomorrow morning, and then we've got the watch party tomorrow as well. So even if you don't qualify to get 2 tickets, even if you don't win the tickets, I should say, even if you don't win the tickets to get to the Tigers home opener against Chicago tomorrow, then we would actually come out and watch the game at Soaring Eagle with yours truly and Craig Monroe. Got a cool story about 2 NBA Hall of Famers that we really didn't get to yesterday because of some other busy stuff. We got some texts that we want to get to as well. The Meyer hotline is open, 866-838-4843. Or you can text the program, Sports Radio, to 21,000. I want to get to those when we come back. Plus, as I mentioned, a couple of Hall of Famers, a great story about one of them admiring another who left us too early. We'll get to that when we come back on X's and Bros across the great state of Michigan, and brought to you this hour by our friends at Ferris Coffee in Grand Rapids.
sumo, sushi, and sake. May 31st at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Witness a thrilling sumo exhibition and enjoy a curated tasting of sushi, sake, and Asian-inspired cocktails. 2 premium VIP packages available, pricing as low as $59. Performance only. Full pricing options and details at SoaringEagleCasino.com. Experience sumo, sushi, and sake. 7 p.m. May 31st at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Hey, Michigan fans, did you know that your favorite craft brewery is also a proud supporter of Michigan athletics? That's right. Founders Brewing Company has been brewing up high-quality, highly rated beers like All Day IPA, Michigan Pilsner, and their new Mortal Bloom right here in Michigan for over 25 years. As a proud supporter of Michigan athletics, they're here to help you celebrate every Wolverine win with the perfect beer in hand. Whether you're at the game, tailgating, or watching from home, there's nothing like enjoying a Michigan-made beer from Founders. Learn more at foundersbrewing.com.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
There's a new player in town. Hi, I'm Herman Moore, Lions All-Pro wide receiver, and I'm talking about Eagle Casino and Sports, the real money mobile casino. It's so easy to play. You can go from wager to winner to wallet, just like that.
Sign up now and we'll match your deposit up to $1,500. Or you can get a risk-free bet up to $1,000.
Eagle Casino and Sports, made in Michigan, made for Michigan.
Must be 21 or older and in Michigan to play.
I think it was more about just getting his fastball glove side and actually making his pitches. It looked like he was yanking his changeup into righties. He got burned on that a little bit, and then he had a hard time locating his fastball. So whatever it was that locked him back in, he got really good in the middle part of the game and really held us where we were to hopefully give us a chance to score some more runs. But fastball command for him was less than his best at the beginning of the game, got better as the game went on, and the results followed.
I love geeking out on baseball in that regard. The little things that managers and catchers and pitching coaches, when a pitcher's on the mound, notice. It's really awesome. I mean, yanking his changeup, yanking his fastball a little bit on the inside. It is so hard. I can't tell you how many games I've watched from the camera well, right next to the dugout of any major league ballpark when I used to report on in TV. And trying to follow the ball, trying to see where that ball is just, I mean, how do you do it, right? And especially from the angle where in that role right there, A.J. Hinch, that was the sound, him looking at it from, how do you notice? Well, first of all, he knows what pitch is coming, so that's really important. And he knows where the catcher's setting up, and then he sees where the catcher is moving in order to catch the baseball. Not to mention the fact that, they've got analytics left and right, and he's talking to the catcher on a pretty regular basis during the game. Tarek Skubal threw 93 pitches. My immediate thought was this: why are you pulling it at 5 2/3? How is it better that Brendan Hannafy is coming in, right? Or Jonathan Brebbia is coming in? I was looking at Luis Castillo, and I don't know. Pitch counts to me are a little much. I mean, I think we get too wrapped up in them, and people think A.J. Hinch has a quick hook, or he thinks about pitch counts too often. And I've talked to him about this I used to talk to him pretty regularly about it, asking him about the various things that people use as a way to justify pulling pitchers or choosing to let them stay in the game longer. A.J. Hinch always reminded me, I let Edwin Jackson throw 149 pitches in a no-hitter. So I am not one of those guys. I'm a former catcher, I know. I am not one of those guys who believes, well, the pitch count is first and foremost. It's the little things that he's noticing on top of the fact that he's got guys in the bullpen who are really good and can get the job done. But think about that. Just remember it. When Edwin Jackson was with the Diamondbacks in 2018, he threw 149 pitches to get a no-hitter. Now, that may be, and it was just at the time, the second Arizona no-hitter in history, franchise history. That may be an exception to the rule. You're not going to mess with Tarek Skubal early in this season. When Edwin Jackson threw that, it was late June, all right? It was like June in the 20s, like 24, 25, 26, something like that when he did it. So you're not going to do that with Tarek Skubal on an April 2nd start, just his second start of the year. But Edwin Jackson, to put it in perspective, or not Edwin Jackson, but Luis Castillo last night, he lasted 7 innings. And he only threw 70 pitches, or 90 pitches, rather. 7 innings, 90 pitches. This is where the mental flaw of Colt Keith's actions in the second inning that led to 2 runs is the difference. After that, Tarek Skubal needed 15 more pitches to get through the inning. Those pitches add up. If you're not a believer in pitch count, that's fine, because I don't think it's the most determining factor, or shouldn't be the most determining factor anyway. How quickly are you putting batters away? Can you put them away, or are they seeing it out of your hand and able to foul it off and extend at bats? That's a bit of an issue. I'm not saying early on in a game, but it does add up. It taxes you. In a perfect world, managers would like to see their pitcher get through an inning, I don't know, 14 pitches would be pretty good. 14, which tells you what? Sorry, you can't strike everybody out. Unless you've got, the immaculate inning. The strikeouts, actually, even though we love them because we want to be in awe, we want to look up at the radar gun and go, he just topped a hundo. Woo, Joel Zamaya, way to go. You know what? It taxes your arms. It's why a lot of guys aren't going deeper into games, fair or unfair. And it's why a lot of coaches are like, pitch to contact and get the hell out of the inning. You know why I want not that I don't want my starter to be a strikeout pitcher. I love that about Skubal. I loved it about Verlander. I loved it about Scherzer. Okay. I loved it back in the day about Jack Morris. I'm good with that, right? Denny McClain rearing back, Mickey Lolich getting strikeouts. I'm all fine with that. But where I really want that is my last guy. My last guy's got to have strikeout stuff. All right. I don't want runners on base. Pitching to contact, some things can happen. I don't want runners on base. I want my last guy in the ninth inning. I don't know if you don't have to tab him as your closer. Don't even use that term if you don't want to. The guy who's closing out the game that day, I hope has strikeout stuff. He's not going to be in there long. He's going to be in there probably an inning at the most. So you want to unload, go right ahead. My starter, I don't need a strikeout of the first three batters, him walking off the mound, the camera getting him, you going to break, saying a perfect inning for Tarek Skubal, Tigers come to bat next. I don't care. I really don't. As fans, we love it. We're on our feet. This is going to be a great day. We're going to throw up another K in the right field porch. That's awesome. I want my starter to last. And I think it's really important. Tigers starters last. Chicago White Sox starters have actually done pretty well in that regard. I think they had their starters were going deep into games in the first 4 or 5 games of the season. But Tarek Skubal got caught up in a little bit of a pitch count because it's early in the season because of walks and because of that extended inning specifically. So when we look back, and I'm not worried about Cole Keith at all. He's going to be fine. These are tough lessons for young 20-year-olds. A lot of guys his age are still in college, right? But these are tough lessons. You make that simple play. There's no reason to even look at second base, right? The play's right in front of you. You gobble it up. You throw it to first. Inning's over. Instead, it opens the door for a 2-run inning. Dan Petrie said during the broadcast, look, as a pitcher, you want to pick your guy up there. That's the disappointing part. As a pitcher, you have to shake that off. You're able to do that. You shake it off, and then what do? Okay. You get the next guy. Tarek Skubal couldn't do that. In fact, Robles doubled to center field, scorched one. An absolute rocket, right? Took an 87-mile-an-hour changeup on the first pitch. We talked yesterday about Jackson Jobe and his willingness to, in fastball counts, to go with a different pitch. Tarek Skubal did something similar. First batter's Robles. What's he going to do? He starts him off with a changeup. He gets burned. And Robles doubles to center, and suddenly it's a 2-0 Seattle lead. And that was big. What turned out to be the difference was Dylan Moore's solo homer. And who would have thought that, right? It's the beauty of sports. Who would have thought Tim Patrick would have been as good as he was for the Lions this year? You're not writing about him every day, but there are certain times where you're like, hey, this dude's making some nice plays. I appreciate that. Last night, you're watching the Pistons. Hey, Paul Reed had a pretty nice game, right? Same thing in Seattle. Seattle, they're not writing about Dylan Moore. They're writing about Julio Rodriguez. They're writing about Randy Arozarena. They're writing about J.P. Crawford. Maybe they're writing about Cal Raleigh because he just signed a 6-year extension. But rarely are they writing about Dylan Moore. And that opens the door, and then suddenly, it's a 3-2 Seattle win. So Cole Keith, again, not worried about him. Wasn't worried about him when he was struggling offensively. I think he's going to hit. Defensively, he's serviceable. Yesterday, they were talking during the broadcast about how good Detroit's defense was a year ago and so on and so forth. And I thought, their outfield defense really good, but we should probably look at the infield defense. And there was nothing special about the infield defense. There's nothing special about the infield defense this year either.
You could argue it got worse.
Yeah, you can. You can argue that. Yeah, absolutely. Look, Trey Sweeney's he's smooth. He's a good fielder, right? Andy Ibanez, I think, does a pretty good job at third base. Look, these guys, the problem is I am sometimes, at least with those two examples, like, okay, yeah, they're good. That's serviceable. Wouldn't you like an elite defensive player? I mean, at some point, Riley Green, you could make the argument. He should have won a Gold Glove in left field last year. I know there are some people out there like, oh, sorry, he runs weird. Really? The fielding Bible went to him.
Wasn't Stephen Kwan the winner in right field?
Left field? No, but I said the fielding Bible went. Yeah. Riley Green won the fielding Bible.
I remember we talked about that when it happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, again, isn't the Gold Glove. The Gold Glove was voted on and given to Stephen Kwan, and he's really good too. But I said you can make the argument.
Yeah, gotcha.
That Riley Green could have won it based on the fielding Bible statistics that are used to determine that. He had better numbers from Sport Radar over, or is it Sports Solutions? I think it's Sports Solutions who does the fielding Bible. Anyway, either way, you can make that argument. We know how good Parker Meadows is. Sometimes it's difficult, but to always recognize he catches up to balls that most guys don't. And he doesn't have to dive all the time. He has incredible range. Very gifted defensive player. I like Matt Vierling in right. He's got a good arm. It's not Vladimir Guerrero Sr. It's not Jesse Barfield. It's not Dave Parker. It's not Dwight Evans. Not Al Kaline. It's not Roberto Clemente. But he's got a good arm, and he's really athletic. So I like the defense out there. To your point, Trey Sweeney, pretty good at shortstop, right? But at some point, I'd love to see, we got the best in the business. Used to have that. Alan Trammell, Lou Whitaker, that was pretty damn good. That was a long time ago. Travis Fryman after them, pretty good player. I don't know if you ever went, oh my God, they're the best. No one's thinking Andy Ibanez is the second coming of Matt Chapman. They're not.
He's just solid major leaguer. That's what he is.
But yeah, and he's made a long living, and I like him a lot. He's a great dude, and I think you need guys like that on your team.
Absolutely.
But for me, I would love to have a guy who at third base, you're like, I hope they hit it there. Everybody in St. Louis wants the ball to go to Nolan Arenado. Everybody. Because he's gobbling it up, man. He's making the play. Let's get to the text. Go ahead.
This one kind of made me chuckle. Says the scorekeeper in Seattle was drunk for ruling that a single. I know you have to put something down, but I would have tried to get away without putting anything down. Mental errors should be a thing.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, you have to put something down.
Yes, and they acknowledged that, but they said I would have tried to get away without putting anything. I thought that was funny.
Yeah,
let's try it.
Yeah, just give it a shot and see what they say. Hey, what's that rule? The problem is that official score is in the press box.
Yes,
right next to the usually they're right next to the home team's PR people. But anyway, you've got all these writers, and what are they doing? What are you scoring that? What is that score? So you could try. It would be mental great error. To say, I'm not going to do anything. I'm sorry. Colt Keith just had a mental error. I'm having a mental error right now. I can't score what that play was. But you're going to have everybody. We need to know. And, of course, the ERA associated with the pitcher and everything else is associated with it has to know as well. But that's pretty funny. You try to get away with it for a little bit, but unfortunately, that wouldn't last very long in a press box. All right, one more text, and you can text us at Sports Radio to 21,000. Go ahead.
They just sent us Colt Keith's quote from yesterday. I want to read it. It says, I tried to get it with one hand, and the hop beat me. No better word for it. I just panicked. Yeah. I knew how many outs there were. I opened up, and for some reason, turned all the way around. Just messed up play. It hurts.
Yeah. Afterwards, I think there was an article. Oh, he owned it. Yes, he did. It doesn't mean that everything's fine. Doesn't mean that suddenly he's become a hero and everybody should go out and buy his jersey. Just because you own something, what are you supposed to do? Of course you're going to own it. You have to own it.
But I like that he acknowledged that he panicked, because a lot of people were speculating. Well, yeah, because a lot of people were like, well, you didn't know how many outs there were or something like that, which
you don't have to say, you don't have to say you panicked, though. You could say, I knew how many outs there were. You don't have to say I panicked.
But that's the honest truth.
Okay, well, okay, look.
If he didn't know how many outs
Sam Darnold said on the sidelines on a hot mic, I'm seeing ghosts, and everybody's ripped him ever since. Maybe that's what he,
including me,
and maybe he was just saying it in jest. Maybe it's like, man, they're coming from everywhere. Okay.
Yeah.
But that stuck with him for the rest of his career. A young kid saying, I panic. Oh, but he's a Tiger, so everything's fine.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if he thought there was one out, it would make sense, obviously, why he would turn to second first.
Absolutely.
He's by admitting that he knew there was two outs and he just panicked. I mean, obviously, it's not a great thing to hear your second baseman say.
No, it's not.
But I'd rather him panic than not know how many outs there are in an inning. Lesser of two evils.
Yeah, I don't know if I can.
And I'll take him at his word.
I don't know if I can make that distinction. Here's what I would love. If next time, here's what all you do. You say, yeah, I knew there were two outs. You don't have to say, I panicked. You say, I knew there were two outs. Made a mistake. It's not going to happen again.
That's fair.
Okay. Saying the word panicked in a situation like that with two outs and a runner on first in the second inning is a little strange to me.
Especially with what it led to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're sitting at second base. I know exactly what he's going through. He's going, you know what? Please, let's get through this inning. That's the last thing you want. You want that everybody, you see all players kind of pat their chest. Okay. That's on me. I saw Mookie Betts do that just the other day in a Dodgers game. That's on me. He made an error, made a mistake. Okay. That's fine. Things are going to happen like that. I mean, Tarek Skubal's making mistakes. He made the mistake on the very next pitch, for crying out loud. How many times is he patting his chest? He'll do it once in a while if he's not covering first. He'll do it when he makes the wrong pitch. Made the wrong pitch there. Obviously, it leads to 2 runs, so on and so forth. But Colt Keith at second base, you're hoping learns from something like this as a young player, but you're also hoping he learns on how to handle the situation post-game as well, because that doesn't lead to a great confidence in a fan base. Not that you should always be looking at the fan base, but when you say, I panic in the second inning of the 5th game of the year or 6th game of the year in a scoreless game and you're panicking, a little questionable. Phone number on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. You can text us, Sports Radio, to 21,000. I'll get to that cool story about a couple of NBA Hall of Famers for sure. Also, something that I don't buy regarding a former Lions coach and what he had to say. We'll get to that coming up here on X's and Bros on a Thursday morning. We've been brought to you in this first hour by Ferris Coffee. They're in Grand Rapids.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with MPerks at Meijer. Some delicious blueberries? Money saved. A creamy treat of cookie dough ice cream? That's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also 10 points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
No sticks, no pucks, no goals, and no holds barred. It's Bare Knuckles Ice Walls. Coming to Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort Saturday, June 14th. 900 square foot ice box, 90-second rounds, 2 combat fighters, and they're on stage. Bare Knuckles Ice Walls. Tickets starting at $50. On sale now at box office or etix.com. History in the making. June 14th at Soaring Eagle. Doors at 6. So that's at SoaringEagleCasino.com. Bare Knuckles Ice Walls. Who needs a pub?
Van Andel Institute Purple Community is a grassroots fundraising network powered by the dedicated volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve human health now and in the future. When you raise funds through the Van Andel Institute Purple Community, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the Institute's research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's, as well as VAI's science education programs. Learn how you can get involved at purplecommunity.org.
Sometimes you miss things. Sometimes you overlook them. Sometimes you're so wrapped up in your own bubble, your own silo, that nothing outside that penetrates. We're all guilty of it. I'm raising my hand right now. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday from 6 until 9. 2 nights ago, the Minnesota Timberwolves, who had beaten Detroit on Sunday, beat Denver 140 to 139. And I love the debates of coaches of the year, MVPs, defensive player of the year, college basketball player of the year, and I'm not saying, Shep, Juju Watkins deserved it over Paige Beckers in women's basketball. That's not where I'm going with this. But when Minnesota beat Denver by a point a couple of nights ago, what we did not acknowledge was Nikola Jokic's triple-double. Now, it shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. He leads the league in that category. The narrative, the national narrative, has been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the MVP. It may be a close vote, but I don't know how you can't vote for him. His team's got 64 wins. He's the best player on that team. They've got more wins than anybody else in the NBA, and so on and so forth. All fair points. I'm not saying you'd be wrong. I could live with either one of them being MVP. There are people who in Detroit, until Cade Cunningham got hurt and he's missed 5 games with a calf injury, Cade Cunningham deserves serious mention for most valuable player. We want it all. It's okay. I mean, we're greedy. I want JB Bickerstaff to win Coach of the Year. We want Cade Cunningham to be MVP. We definitely think Trajan Langdon should be the GM of the year. And damn it, Shep, I want to see Isaiah Stewart should be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. Have you not read articles similar to that or seen social media posts similar to that over the last month or so? Without the Trajan Langdon, I haven't seen people go quite that far, but I've seen it about the other 3 things. Those are all great debates. I love debating. Heisman Trophy. Who should win the Heisman Trophy? Let's have a debate. That's cool. It's good. Nikola Jokic, in case you missed this a couple of nights ago, had 61 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. Some people will roll their eyes and go, oh, yeah, he got to the line 24 times, made 19 free throws in the 60s.
How can you roll your eyes?
He scored 61 points in that triple-double. I'm not trying to convince you that because Denver, who lost last night too, turned around and lost, and is now, 47-30, suddenly Denver, because of that situation, Jokic definitely deserves to win the MVP. But damn, I mean, those are things that have to, everybody's like, Anthony Edwards, look how good he was for Minnesota. He had 34. Nikola Jokic had 61 points, most by a player in the NBA this year. Third 60-point triple-double in NBA history. Trent, he played 52 minutes and had 61 points, 10 boards, and 10 assists.
By the way, what blows me away is the 61 points and 10 assists. If you had a double-double with 61 points and you're able to, rack up 10 assists, that in and of itself is impressive. Then to grab the 10 rebounds, I know he's a center, but still he's everywhere, to your point.
Well, yeah, you're right. He's a center, so we automatically assume that. Why is it we assume the centers should be grabbing rebounds in double digits?
Right. He could easily just say,
he's
you guys
also
do
making
that.
threes, which that's today's game, Shep. It's funny how, and I'm guilty of this too, we shift our focus to that one position where, because there are guys in the league who are stretch 4s and 5s who can make threes, you sure don't want Isaiah Stewart taking threes. You sure don't want Jalen Duren taking threes. So all those things. But we can't expect guards to rebound. Why is it the centers who've been able to adjust, hitting threes, but they're still expected to do the other things that traditional centers do?
Right.
It's incredible to me.
Well, and Jokic has led the charge in kind of reforming. He's been one of those players that I think has sort of reformed our position on the center. I mean, he's one of the first centers I can remember.
Back to the basket kind of guy.
Yeah, like he takes it up the floor sometimes. Which before
that's
him,
not a traditional center though.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying he has pushed people to view the position differently.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think there were Dirk Nowitzki was. I think he changed just about everything. That we had never seen a 7-footer really do that regularly. All right. We saw 7-footers like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and we saw Moses Malone as a center. He wasn't 7 feet. Akeem Olajuwon, who was, I think, an even 7 feet. Saw Patrick Ewing. Those guys, Olajuwon a little different, but he wasn't a 3-point shooter. Okay. Really good, but a pretty damn good free throw shooter. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a very good free throw shooter. But you get all that stuff. That those guys were traditional. I think Dirk Nowitzki kind of broke that mold by being able to stretch. I know they called him a stretch 4, but it's 7 feet. Traditionally, that would be your 5.
Yes. No, that's totally fair.
Well, I don't think. I mean, Nowitzki would bring the ball up the floor every once in a while. I don't think what we're seeing from Jokic is all that unique, but because of his build, maybe. He's a wider body. He's wider than Dirk Nowitzki. I think it's very unique. Yeah, and I think it's different. But he's I'm focused more on the 61 points in 52 minutes, and that I'm not saying we're to blame, but I don't know how many people are paying as close attention to it unless it's an NBA show. That's an incredible stat line. Just a marvelous game on his part, and I don't know how many people are going to use that as a way to convince others that he's the MVP. And maybe
I'm sure a lot of these voters have already licked the stamp on their MVP ballot.
Oh, I think they have too.
I mean, it's like the Big Ten tournament championship game with the selection committee. It's the same idea, right? We're just too late in the season with only 5-6 games left.
Yeah,
you to completely flip.
The funny thing is that both are out west, so you can't blame. Oh, you know what? Sorry, he plays out west. You don't see him quite as much. That's bullcrap. That only works with the Heisman. It doesn't work with College Player of the Year in basketball. It doesn't work with NBA because LeBron James has played out west, and he's a guy who gets plenty of attention. Nikola Jokic has won 3 MVPs, so he gets plenty of attention. I don't buy that. But yes, I think many people by now have already decided, hey, listen, I don't think anyone's catching. But first of all, no one's catching Oklahoma City in the West. I don't think Cleveland's going to catch them for best overall record. And he is, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, their best player. And as I mentioned during the update earlier, 69 consecutive games of 20 points or more. That is tied for the 4th most in NBA history. Only Wilt Chamberlain twice, Elgin Baylor, and he's tied, say Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is, with Michael Jordan. So maybe that's the case. This is another cool thing, though. Because on Tuesday night, Steph Curry had 52 points in the win over Memphis. He had 12 triples. He's the best 3-point shooter the league has ever seen. He's better than Ray Allen. He's better than Reggie Miller. He's better than all the 3-pointers specialists ahead of him. All right. Golden State, with the win, it's an important win for them. But more importantly for Steph Curry is that he passed Jerry West on the all-time scoring list at number 25. Curry had a relationship with Jerry West. I don't know how you feel about Golden State. I don't know how you feel about Steph Curry. I could take or leave that team or take or leave the player. I admire the player because I think he's really good. But it's not like I can't wait to watch him. I wouldn't sit there and buy a jersey. Here's what he said. I got a little emotional about it. It's special. Obviously, in our memory and what he meant to the league, to the world of basketball, to our organization when he worked here as well, and my relationship with his son. I got to talk to him after the game just to share a moment of what it meant for me and my family, the entire West family. So that is special. Just understanding what his career was. That's the logo. Very special. I'll keep that ball and put it in a good place. That's awesome. That is a guy, we always talk about history. Do you know the history? He obviously knows the history. It helps to have worked with Jerry West in the organization, but he knows the history and appreciates it. That's a guy who loves what the game has meant to people like him. I had to tell you about that in case you missed it. All right, we're back with more right after this. We're brought to you by Meyer here in the second hour.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meyer. Some delicious blueberries, money saved. A creamy treat of cookie dough ice cream, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also 10 points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meyer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the huge show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
Sumo, sushi, and sake. May 31st at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Witness a thrilling sumo exhibition and enjoy a curated tasting of sushi, sake, and Asian-inspired cocktails. 2 premium VIP packages available, pricing as low as $59. Performance only. Full pricing options and details at SoaringEagleCasino.com. Experience sumo, sushi, and sake. 7 p.m. May 31st at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Huge here for my good friends at Insurant. Now, we know inflation is making everything expensive, including your auto insurance. But what if you could instantly compare rates and find big savings? At Insurant, they make shopping for auto insurance fast and easy. One call gets you multiple quotes. Call 231-COMPARE now or visit insure.it. That's 231-COMPARE or insure.it, where smart drivers shop, compare, and save. Insure.it. Save money now.
How many Tigers do you want to see with this team? Not just this year, but let's say over the next 4 to 5 years. Who are the guys that you'd love to lock down and make sure that they're on this team for a while? Riley Green would be at the first, besides Tarek Skubal, which, again, why they haven't done a contract, I don't know. I assume they're in discussions, but we haven't heard any rumblings of that. I can't figure out for the life of me why they haven't secured him yet, but whatever. We digress a little bit. Besides that, everyday players. Riley Green's number one for you. There's no question. What is delaying the Tigers from locking him up long term? Why aren't they doing what so many other teams have or are doing? Arizona just did it with Ketel Marte. Now, Ketel Marte's been around for 11 years, all right? Two-time All-Star, lifetime 281 batting average, on-base percentage 348, slug at 467. He's a guy who you're going to – the deal they gave him is a 6-year, $116.5 million. That's not a crippling deal, all right? There's nothing there that makes you go, sorry, well, this is going to prevent us from doing something in the future. There's a player option in 2031 for $11.5 million. It's replacing. They had already signed him to a 5-year, $76 million contract in 2022. Tear that up and bring in the new 6-year, $116.5 million contract. A contract reward for service. Okay. Maybe that's not the right example for you. Okay. You know who Jackson Merrill is? Jackson Merrill was a first-round pick, I think 27th overall out of high school. He's 21 for the San Diego Padres. He was a shortstop. Most of your best players, high school collegiately, are shortstops, all right? The athletic ones. Then you feel like you can transition them elsewhere. Sean Casey, for crying out loud, was a shortstop. Moved him to first base. Anyway,
that's hilarious to
it's true though.
Remember.
So Jackson Merrill's a shortstop. They moved him to center field. The seamless transition was borderline mind-blowing. What did he do? He goes out there and he hits 292, homers 24 times, and drives in 90 runs. And they sign him to a $204 million contract. That's pretty cool. They're rewarding their young player. They believe in him. You're our guy moving forward. We've got other guys, no question. They have locked up a number of different players. And Jackson Merrill, at a young age, it's a 9-year extension worth $135 million. All right? 9 years, $135 million, but there are ways to get the maximum out of it for $204 million. That's the reason I bring that up. So there's options, there's incentives, there's all these different things. The max contract for that 21-year-old is $204 million. Over a 10-year deal, $20 million a year for a guy who's played 1 year in the major leagues. I'm sure there are some people shaking their head a little bit and going, I don't know if that's responsible. It's not a long track record, right?
Two ways to look at it.
I mean, that's one way to look
that's
at
the
it.
Negative way. Yeah.
Up Xander Bogaerts for a long time. They locked up Manny Machado for a long time, Fernando Tatis Jr. for a long time, Jake Cronenworth for a long time. They've got guys who are going to be there. They're going to be there. And they're good, right? I mean, They're undefeated so far this season. They're good. They're making the playoffs. They're a really good franchise and a really good baseball team, which would tell you, if they're a really good franchise, they do things right. I think that's fair to assume. We think the Lions are a really good franchise now, and for good reason.
Yeah, they take care of their own, and they get ahead of it.
Signs guys, and what has he done? He's made sure he has built his team and his structure so he can afford Aiden Hutchinson, so he can afford Kirby Joseph, so he can afford Brian Branch long-term, so he can afford Jahmyr Gibbs long-term. We keep saying they're not going to be able to keep all of them. Well, maybe they are positioning themselves where they can keep at least most of them because they're not dipping into the fandom, like yours truly and others have said, go get Myles Garrett. Go get Max Crosby. Go get Trey Hendrickson.
And you know what else, Shep? The timing of the contracts is the other flawless part of this to me, because he's getting out in front of it and doing it before these guys reset the market. Giving Jared Goff $53 million instead of the $60 it would have taken after Dak Prescott.
So he's doing it right. He's doing it right. Yeah, I didn't mean to go off on a Lions tangent because this.
No, but it's a good example. It's a good example.
That's what I'm talking about. We think that is the right way to do business. Why don't the Tigers do the same thing? Well, Shep, they don't have the same type of talent, really. I don't think they have all pros, but they do have an all-star in left field. That's the focus of what I'm talking about here. Boston just signed their 22-year-old Christian Campbell, who went from A to AAA, hit 330, had an OBP of 440, had a slug of almost 560, to an 8-year, $60 million contract. Now, you could say that is similar to what Colt Keith did, what the Tigers did with Colt Keith. That's fine. So they believe in Colt Keith. They've got that done. Why haven't they done it with Riley Green? Riley Green is a guy who has shown defensively and offensively how good you expected him to be, and look at how good he has been. An all-star a year ago, could have been a Gold Glover. We've already gone through that. Last year hit 24 bombs in 137 games, 24 bombs, and drove in 74 while batting .262, had an OBP of 348, which is exactly what Ketel Marte's career OBP is. Had a slug of 480, pretty damn good, right? Higher than what Ketel Marte had. Marte's done it for a longer period of time. Riley Green's a guy who has that ability and will do this. He's going to be a consistent player. He's going to be an all-star level player for a long time. Why don't you ink him to a long-term deal?
And do it now. Get out in front of the market.
Because you can always, I'll guarantee you, I may not be around in 10 years, but I'll guarantee you, Jackson Merrill's deal, if he continues to excel as good as he is right now, they will rip that son of a gun up and give him a new one at some point. That's the reason I brought up the Ketel Marte example. They ripped it up after what he got in 2022, ripped it up and gave him a new one.
Because he earned it.
He's one of the keys to what they're going to do moving forward, even though he's already been in the league 11 years. Why in the world wouldn't you do that with your best player? If I said to you right now, fork to nose, who's your best player on the Detroit Tigers? Who's the guy you want up in a clutch situation? Why is it that Riley Green's in there against righties and lefties? He hits lefties pretty well. He's a really good defensive player. He's a team player. You didn't hear him doing what Rafael Devers did when Parker Meadows took over center field. There was no, this is my position. I'm not giving it up. It's, I'm going to do what's best for the team. You could argue he should have a C on his chest. How about signing him to a long-term deal? We are caught up in inking Tarek Skubal to a long-term contract, and for good reason, because you want him here, and so do I. I don't know how much that's going to cost. I've already speculated on that on the past, especially since he's got, Scott Boras is his agent. It's going to be above. It's going to be close, if not exceeding $40 million a year. Okay, that's the going rate for his clients at that position who have been that dominant. But I would also remind you this: you need your everyday guy there too. Riley Green should be inked to a long-term deal this season by the Tigers. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. You can text the show, Sports Radio, to 21,000. We talk a little football on the other side on X's and Bros, brought to you by Meyer.
Huge here for my good friends, the Godfather, Ronnie and Drew at Impact Power Sports. Now, they're located on 14 Mile Road in Rockford, just north of GR. They service the entire state, family-owned business. They've been in operation since 2015, and what they provide, custom golf carts, or you need a golf cart for your home, the lake house, business, and event, ATVs, UTVs, e-bikes, and also they have the best service team in Michigan when it comes to fixing your golf cart, your ATV, your UTV, and more. What you need to do is follow Impact Power Sports on Facebook and also stop by and see the Godfather Andrew at Impact Power Sports on 14 Mile Road in Rockford, just north of GR. Go see the Godfather and Drew today at Impact Power Sports.
There's a new player in town. Hi, I'm Herman Moore, Lions All-Pro wide receiver, and I'm talking about Eagle Casino and Sports, the real money mobile casino. It's so easy to play. You can go from wager to winner to wallet, just like that.
Sign up now and we'll match your deposit up to $1,500. Or you can get a risk-free bet up to $1,000.
Eagle Casino and Sports, made in Michigan, made for Michigan.
Must be 21 or older and in Michigan to play.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. And if you missed any of today's show, be sure to check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your podcasts to find the greatest hits from every day's show.
Huge here for my good friends from Insurant. Now, they understand inflation is driving up the cost of everything here in the state of Michigan, including auto insurance, but you don't have to overpay any longer. Insurant helps Michigan drivers compare quotes fast, so you can find the best deal on a rate and start saving today. Call 231-COMPARE now or visit insure.it. Shop, compare, save at insure.it.
35 after the hour. Welcome back on this Thursday morning. X's and Bros. We'll be joining Bill Simonson a little bit later on today, live at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort in their sportsbook Ascend. Hope you can join us there. I'll be on right around, I think in the 5 o'clock hour is when they're going to bring me on. And later on today, Craig Monroe will join us up there at Ascend as well. And then tomorrow, we will be broadcasting live from there at Soaring Eagle 6 to 9 here on X's and Bros with SEMO. Then we've got the watch party. So really excited to come out and watch the Tigers and White Sox play. And we'll chat a little baseball with you. It's always a good time to do that for sure. Let's go to the phone lines. The Meyer hotline is open, 866-838-4843. I know someone's patiently waited through the break, and then we'll get into this NFL story and how happy we've been over the last 3 years, but we've turned rather angry over the last 3 months. Who do we got?
We've got Mark in Gun Lake, who is about to take a well-earned vacation, but first he wants to talk to you about Tigers and Pistons.
Mark, how are you?
Hey, thanks for getting me through the winter. It was great.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah, appreciate that very much.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, it was great. First of all, the second game against Seattle, they were showing the pitcher, the tall, lanky right-hander for the Mariners. Who was that again?
Logan Gilbert. Logan Gilbert. Very good pitcher.
Okay. Okay, I got a question to ask you. When they were showing him in slow motion from a bunch of different angles on his trajectory toward the plate, what's the rule on keeping your feet on the pitching rubber? Do you just have to start your windup on that, and then you can land anywhere? Because he was like 3 feet off that rubber before he even let the ball go.
You mean the right foot?
What's the rule on that?
He's a righty. Are you saying is the right foot? Is that what you're saying?
Wasn't even near the rubber. Nothing. Yeah.
I'll have to look the rule up. I'm not going to try and fool you and think that, you have to start obviously on the rubber. Your foot doesn't have to be on the rubber the entire time. I can tell you that, but I don't know if it's exactly, it has to be on the rubber by the time you let the ball loose. I'll look that up for you and let you know. Okay.
Okay. And then my second thing is when I watch the Pistons, thank God we're in Michigan. I mean, we got some great teams going, even the Spartans and the Wolverines. But when I watch the Pistons, I always like to do stats in my head. And when they show the end stats, I'm like, God, I think Duran or Stewart had another block or two in there.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about the game, and I was thinking, now, what's the stat rule on this? You got a guy driving on Ivy or whoever, and they foul him.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's going up for a continuation shot, and Duran or Stewart blocks the shot
not a block.
After the whistle.
It's not a block.
It's not a block.
No.
Why not?
It's not a block.
Why isn't it? It would have counted.
It would have counted, but it's not considered a block shot. So.
Oh, it's not. Okay, I thought that's why my stats are getting messed up.
That's all right. No, it's cool. I mean,
right, I might come up from Gun Lake tomorrow and see you at the.
I would love to see that.
Ascend, so
I would love to have a conversation with you and SEMO too, especially if it's baseball related. That'd be great.
Okay. All right. Sounds
Thanks,
good.
Mark.
You have,
Appreciate it very much.
Have a great spring, man.
All right, you too, buddy.
All right,
I hope we talk before then. I'm going to look that up. I got to look that up regarding the pitcher because it's a really good question. I know you have to start on the mound, obviously, but if you're a guy like Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Jackson Jobe, something like that, your foot does not have to be on the mound by the time you deliver the pitch. I don't believe. It's not like you can take a crow hop. It's just automatic. Your foot is going to move, so it's pretty obvious. I don't know exactly what the rule reads, so let me look that up for you, and I'll make sure I get back to you. Let me get to some texts. The text line is open sports radio to 21,000. That's all you got to do and text us. What do we got? We got a couple, right?
Yeah, referring to players they want to lock up, the Tigers, that is. It says this team is 4-2 if Parker Meadows is not hurt. He's the guy who needs to be locked up next.
Okay. I bet you people were thinking a different tune there at the beginning of last year. But I'm with you. I want this guy to be our center fielder for a long time. They also have Max Clark coming. Now he's in high A. Dan Hasty's going to fill in for Bill Simonson tomorrow afternoon, and he'll be able to speak to that a little bit better since he calls Whitecaps games. I was surprised that he and Kevin McGonigal started in high A. They'll get to double A at some point this year. Not saying that you shouldn't make sure, you shouldn't lock him up, Parker Meadows, because you've got a young guy like that coming. You never know how long it's going to take for a young guy to progress. So you don't do that. You worry about it when it happens, right? One guy can move to left field or right field, I should say. It's interesting, too, because what you could have is you could have all three of your outfielders left-handed. You get Riley Green, Parker Meadows, right?
Yeah, that would be something.
Right.
Yeah.
But Parker Meadows, man, I'm trying to think. Parker Meadows he throws right-handed, right? I'm trying to
I'll
think
double
now.
check that.
Sounds
right in my head.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, Riley Green throws left-handed. They all bat left-handed. I got to see. I can't remember if Parker.
Yeah, he
Meadows,
throws right. You're correct.
Right-handed, but they all bat left-handed. Max Clark, Parker Meadows, and Riley Green. So anytime you talk about contract extensions, Riley Green, me too, and I should be doing this too. How long are you thinking, and for how much money? You can't just say extend it. It's too blank. It's too much of a blanket statement. But when I see San Diego signing to Jackson Merrill for 9 years at $135 million, which could end up being $204 million, I think if this kid turns out as good as you think he's going to be, and he was drafted 27th overall out of high school, Riley Green was drafted 5th overall out of high school, which shouldn't matter all that much in the scheme of things in terms of a contract. Oh, just because I was drafted higher, that means I get more money. No, bullcrap. I mean, Mike Trout was drafted behind a lot of guys, okay, including who's the guy? The Angels took him just before Mike Trout. He was a Toronto Blue Jay. Why did I've lost his name? Anyway, that's going to bother me. Anyway, that doesn't mean you automatically get Grinchick. Thank you. Okay. That's what it is. It's Grinchick. It doesn't mean automatically you get more money. Riley Green, at his age, what should you make sure you want to have him under the dotted line, on the dotted line for? At the age of 24, how long would you want him? Like, we got him 6 years under control, so we should wait. No. If you think he's going to be a star player, if you think he's going to be your guy for an extended period of time, like San Diego does with Jackson Merrill, why not ink him up now? That way you don't have to pay the heavy costs as things continue to skyrocket moving forward. They've got him for 9 years. They got him until he's 30. He's 21 years old. That's a pretty good deal. If your scouts and your eyes tell you he's going to be good enough. Riley Green at age 24, would you have a problem locking him up at a 6 or 7 year contract right now? 7-year contract, similar to that of Jackson Merrill's, probably obviously a little bit more than that. A 6 or 7 year deal over $200 million. It's not my money, but that's what I'd be doing. And I'm sure the Tigers are in the process of doing that. We're just not hearing about it. But that's my hope. That's what good franchises do. Let's recognize we got this guy. If you can recognize him in high school, how good you think he's going to be to warrant a 5th overall draft pick, and you can't recognize him now at the major league level at age 24 of how good he's going to be over the next 6 years, then you're not doing your job. You haven't figured it out yet. This should be a pretty telltale sign. It's always funny for me when organizations will go, okay, well, Spencer Torkelson's got some things to work on. We're going to send him down. Why? Because you've recognized something over an extended period of time, right? You've extended and realized he is, and the numbers show it, he is not the type of player you think he should be at this point. So you send him down. Right. Riley Green has been the type of player you expected him to be. Found the power last year, better on base percentage, really good defensive player, team leader, works his tail off, all the things you wanted when you made him the 5th overall pick. He has been. Perhaps you thought he was going to hit for a little bit higher average, 262 last year. Hopefully it's in the twos. How high is high enough? I don't know. Okay. All I know is that he's a mainstay for your team. Somebody said to us a couple weeks ago, he wouldn't start on anybody else's team. Yes, he would. He would start probably on anybody else's team in left field, outside of maybe Houston, in left field. Most teams would want a guy like Riley Green. This is a time, I think, for you to make sure you sign him long term. How long is long enough? 10 years might scare some people. 7, 8 years, sure. And then you don't have to worry about it. You've got your guy in left field. He's going to be there. Now, people will say, well, what about the injury problem? Well, there are risks. There have been injured players, injured pitchers. It's funny. We worry about the injuries to Riley Green, but we don't worry about the injuries to Tarek Skubal. Tarek Skubal's had a couple of Tommy John surgeries. But we want him locked up. Why would you want one guy locked up and forget about the injury issues, but not Riley Green? Because Riley Green's an everyday player? Because he has more chance to get injured? Maybe. I want my everyday players. Let's go back to the phone lines. The Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. Go ahead.
Brett has some thoughts on this topic about Riley Green.
Hey, Brett.
Hey, Shep, for one, I never said that he wouldn't start for any team. I just said that he's not in the top 10 in my list. But right. I got a question for you. If we gave Gleyber Torres $15 million as a free agent to come to us, how much more is Riley Green worth with comparable amounts of statistics? I mean, and when you're talking about Tarek Skubal's injuries and Riley Green's injuries, you're talking about one of the best in Major League Baseball compared to, in your opinion, one of the good ones. But I'm not saying Riley Green is a good player. I'm just saying we got to stop thinking average players that are the best player on our team are worth keeping around to be a mainstay on our team to build around. Well, we need a top-notch player.
Well, I don't disagree with that. Where our disagreement comes is whether or not he is. So that's where it falls. I think, and you actually did say you actually did say he wouldn't start for any other team. You did say that.
No, I didn't say that.
Yeah, you
I
did.
said he won't start for the top 10 teams.
And you didn't say top 10. And if you don't think he's top 10, I mean, name me the 10 guys ahead of him in left field. Go.
I don't. I'm talking about contracts. Just look at the teams that paid their players.
Yeah.
Are the Yankees going to sign Riley Green? Are the Dodgers going to sign Riley Green? Are the Padres going to? I mean, you keep talking about how great he is. Nobody else is going to come after him for a 10-year contract. He's good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no, I get it. You're not. Just out of curiosity, though, how do you know, unless he's on the free agent market and a team made a bid for him, what makes you think nobody would, when you say that in generality, no one's going after him? Tell me what you mean by that.
Who's going to go after a 260 batter that hits 25 home runs and under 100 RBIs? He's not a superstar. He's just an all-star on the Tigers because they had to pick one.
No. So in other words, so based on that, though, you would go all in on Brent Rooker, for example.
No, I would blow the whole team up and start over with our prospects and see if we got anybody that's a prospect.
No, I'm just saying you brought up numbers. I think RBIs can be very misleading. Depends on who's on base for him. He had 24 homers. Brent Rooker plays for Oakland, batted .293 last year, hit 39 homers. He's in left field.
No.
Okay. Well, you said nobody else is getting him. Nobody's going out to get a guy like Riley Green. And I think they are. I think a lot of teams would be interested in a guy like Riley Green. Now, obviously you bring up the Dodgers, which is convenient, but they signed Teoscar Hernandez to a 2-3 year contract in the offseason. So they don't need him, obviously. But if Riley Green were available, there would be a lot of teams trying to make a bid for him. Okay. San Diego, who would you rather have in left field? Jurickson Profar or Riley Green?
I don't know because I only follow the Tigers, dude. I don't give a crap about the rest of the league. All I know is that the Tigers
can't make the statement. You cannot make the statement then that nobody else would want him because you don't follow the league. No. You only follow the Tigers. It makes no sense.
But I follow free agency in the off season, and you name somebody with the crappy stats that Riley Green has that just signed a 10-year contract.
The crappy stats?
Yeah, a lot of people sign them, but they'll sign them as a platoon or the fourth outfielder because they already got 300 hitters in the outfield. We have 0 300 hitters on our team, and you're trying to make Riley Green out to be a superstar.
I'm not making him out to be a superstar. What I made him out to be is an all-star. And what I said was I would sign him to a long-term contract. I don't believe a guy like Jackson Merrill is a superstar yet. I don't believe Ketel Marte is a superstar. But teams recognize that they're important. Those guys are important to their franchise, and they lock them up long-term because they want them there. I want Riley Green long-term, and I think he's going to – I'm not asking you for superstar status. I didn't say I would pay him $400 million. That's superstar stuff.
I wouldn't go over $200. I wouldn't go over $200 million for 10 years.
Okay, well,
that's what the going market is for a 250 hitter.
Brett, I got news. Brett, I got news for you, man. I mean, we're not that far off because I said about $200 million. All right, so I don't know what the argument here is.
I was thinking extrapolate out because Gleyber Torres, if you look at his stats, is a better hitter. Correct.
Well, he has had a longer career than Riley Green.
But if you look at
if you're looking at it from that standpoint, are you trying to convince me that you'd rather have Gleyber Torres than Riley Green on your team in general? And but just so you know, Gleyber Torres is a career 266 hitter. Just so you know that he's a career 266 hitter, and he's never hit. Well, he hit 39 homers at Yankee Stadium, which is a homer-happy ballpark, in his second year. After that, he's never hit more than 25.
Okay, what's Riley Green's biggest home run?
24 last year. Okay, in year number 3. Year number 3.
And okay, but look at his strikeouts. Look at his walk rate. Look at all the rest of it. He's just an everyday player. This thing that thinking that
I like everyday players. I like everyday players. You don't have many of them on this team, okay? You don't have many on this team, and you may not have many in the system. Who knows? You don't know. Here's what I do know, and thanks for the phone call, Brett. I do know that Riley Green is your best player. I'm not asking you to pay him like a superstar. What I'm asking you to do is get him locked up because he is your best player, and I think he's going to get better. You are hung up on Riley Green not being a very good left fielder and that nobody else would want him, and I don't know where you get that from. There are certain teams, like Cleveland's really happy with Stephen Kwan. Absolutely. Do you think Pittsburgh would like Riley Green instead of Brian Reynolds? You're damn right they would. There's plenty of teams that would want a guy like Riley Green. I think Texas loves what they got in Wyatt Langford, but there are plenty of teams out there. I used this example with you before. Last year, Alex Verdugo was the left fielder for the Yankees. Riley Green's a hell of a lot better than Alex Verdugo. We're back with more after this.
In the Den with Dan Dickerson.
Step up to the plate at Eagle Casino and Sports, the mobile sportsbook app that you can bet on all your favorites all year round, including, of course, our national pastime. So download the app and start winning today at Eagle Casino and Sport. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Must be 21 years or older and in Michigan to play.
One of the biggest things a young hitter has to learn how to do in the major leagues is coming up with a game plan. What will your approach be against today's starting pitcher? How are you going to attack them? How are they going to attack you? It's a lot. And we saw young Tiger hitters struggle with some of the concepts last year. But that experience has clearly helped this year. Those rookies now have a better understanding of how to prepare, how to adjust their approach at bat to at bat. And it shows in how the Tigers are getting into games this year. Through 5 games, opposing starting pitchers have faced 78 Tigers batters. 37 have reached with a hit or a walk. Success against the starter, a great sign for the weeks ahead.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Saturday, July 26th, Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, Foreigner. Live at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort with special guests Loverboy and Night Ranger. Tickets start at $32 and are on sale now at the box office or online at etix.com. The Soaring Eagle Summer Outdoor Concert Series welcomes Foreigner with Loverboy and Night Ranger, July 26th. Showtime 7 p.m. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Thanks for listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard, only on the Michigan Sports Network.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
When you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
Home run! Home run! He hit it a mile! Let's give them the keys to the Hall of Fame, but not tonight. Tonight they are in the Stanley Cup. Steve Eisenman, come get it.
It feels like heaven. Heaven must be lying. I got one question for you, Michigan Nation. Who's got it better than us?
Right center field. That carry is gone. Number 500 and history for Miguel Cabrera.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Yes. This game is over. Let's cut the kick. They score. Red Wings win. Detroit basketball.
Detroit basketball loser last night. Welcome, everybody. Final hour of X's and Bros brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resorts. Pistons fall in OKC 119-103. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scores 33 to lead the way. 69th straight game where he has scored 20 or more, tied with Michael Jordan for fourth most ever. Meanwhile, the Pistons committing 18 turnovers, shorthanded because of Cade Cunningham and the injured calf, and because of the suspensions to Isaiah Stewart and Ron Holland and Marcus Sasser. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who are thinking, you know what, had they played, then we would have won. Well, I don't know if that's necessarily the case because you're taking shots away from other guys and you're taking minutes away from other guys. But I think it's fair to assume that when you have your best players on the floor, and Detroit was missing a lot of their best players. Tobias Harris played well. Tim Hardaway Jr. led the way with 23, had 21 in the first half. I think it's fair to assume that, you're going to be a little bit closer. I don't know if it necessarily means you're going to win because that Thunder team's really good. They've won 11 in a row. They got 64 knockouts, most in the NBA. Detroit's magic number is at 1. They get there with a win Friday night in Toronto or with a loss by Orlando tonight against Washington, which probably isn't going to happen. They are 3 games back of Indiana for the number 4 seed because the Pacers were winners last night over Charlotte. And it was really impressive, a really impressive win for Indiana and Tyrese Halliburton, who had a double-double. Red Wings are going to welcome Carolina to town tomorrow night. The Hurricanes were winners last night over Washington, but in that game, the lone goal for the Capitals, courtesy of 39-year-old Alexander Ovechkin, who has 39 on the season and 892 in his Hall of Fame career. He is 2 shy of tying Wayne Gretzky, 3 shy of setting the all-time record. The Rangers did win last night in overtime over Minnesota. They've got 79 points, tied with Montreal for the second wild card. Detroit running out of time. They have 4 points back when they're losing ground when they're not even playing. And that's always a bad thing. You don't want to have to worry about that when you're trying to make the playoffs. Mariners salvaged one of the games against the Tigers. They beat them 3-2. Riley Green had an RBI. The lone Tiger with a couple of hits on the night. Trey Sweeney had a solo homer as well. Tarek Skubal suffers the loss. Home opener is Friday against Chicago tomorrow. Jack Flaherty against Jonathan Cannon. We want to send you there. Bill Simonson later on today will broadcast live from Ascend Sportsbook inside Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, and he will draw the lucky winner who gets 2 tickets, a 2-night stay, dinner tonight as well, and transportation to and from Comerica Park tomorrow for opening day. He will draw that. You've got to be there in person from those who have registered via the text line. All you have to do is text Tigers to 21,000 and show up at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort tonight at Ascend or this afternoon. And Bill Simonson will draw a name, and hopefully you're that name. Here's our poll question. What do you love most about opening day? Tailgating, bar hopping, baseball game, ditching work? You can vote as often as you like at XB Mornings. We'll give you the result when we broadcast live from Soaring Eagle tomorrow. Me and Craig Monroe will host the show 6 until 9, and we will give you those results in the 8 o'clock hour. I don't want to get in a habit of defending one particular player all the time, because then, you get in a situation where that player may struggle during a period of time, and you're left trying to explain that always. And that's not always the case, because guys are going to struggle. I just think there are certain hills that many of us, including yours truly, are willing to die on. All right. So we have certain people, and this, I've said this forever, not just since broadcasting, but in my life. It's hard to change people's minds. All right. And what you're going to do is you're going to stick to your guns because you feel like you're right. Okay, that's fine. There is going to come a point in time, though, where if you are wrong, you do have to acknowledge it. And I don't mean if a player is in their 12th year and they're suddenly declining after having a strong 11 seasons in whatever sport they're playing. It's about whether or not you believe that player at the time of your argument was as good or as bad, depending on your position, your point of view, as you say he was or she was. Okay? So I'll give you an example. Earl Campbell was one of my favorite players of all time in football. He's a Hall of Famer, 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, and MVP, led the league in rushing in each of his first 3 years. He was an absolute stud. Those in Houston who weren't buying in to the Texas Rose would be, first of all, be crazy if you were there the first 3 years and not recognize his greatness. But maybe they waited until he got to New Orleans when he only rushed for 190 yards at the end of his career when he was 29 and said, see, I told you he wasn't very good. And then after you have to wait a certain amount of time to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, when he's elected to the Hall of Fame, they go quiet. How do you feel about that player while you're making the argument? If you're trying to tell me that right now Riley Green isn't one of the best left fielders in baseball, I'm sorry. You're wrong. And if you don't want to use this year, because it's a small sample size, maybe you think Tyler O'Neill's the best left fielder in baseball. I don't think he is, but perhaps some people think that. I don't know what you're paying attention to. Andrew Benintendi signed a long-term contract with the Chicago White Sox. He's a good player in Kansas City. He goes to the Yankees for a short period of time. Now he's in Chicago. They thought he was going to be an answer with him in left, and they could put Eloy Jimenez as the all-time DH, and you could have Luis Robert in center, and you got Andrew Vaughn at first. You got Tim Anderson at short. It's going to be Yohan Moncada at third. You've got a long-term plan. You're in good shape. They signed him to a long-term deal. He has not lived up to that deal. Riley Green's a hell of a lot better than Andrew Benintendi. And I liked Andrew Benintendi. He was in Boston. I mean, he was in Boston and he played really good baseball for the Boston Red Sox before going to Kansas City. But Riley Green is better than he is. And it's a small sample size, so you're not going to say, okay, 296. Riley Green's at 296 with a couple of offensive field bombs. He's the best left fielder. I'm not suggesting he's the best left fielder. I don't want to pay him like he's the best outfielder. I don't want to pay him like he's the best player in baseball either. I'm not going crazy here with Juan Soto or Shohei Ohtani money. Don't get it twisted. You're sitting there saying we need really good players. He's a really good player. He's an all-star player. He's not a platoon guy. And if you played him on another team, pick a team. More oftentimes than not, he's going to be there. Would he take over for Teoscar Hernandez? Probably not. Would you rather have him than Jason Dominguez? Jason Dominguez, I think, could be the American League Rookie of the Year. I don't know. He's in New York, in case you were wondering. Just about every other place. I mean, Texas likes Wyatt Langford. They like some of their young players who they've drafted and developed, just like Detroit has drafted and developed Riley Green. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. You can text us Sports Radio to 21,000. When we come back, we'll give you the results from yesterday's poll question. We'll get to the daily wager. And we've got that football discussion that we've got to get to. That's at 8:35 here on X's and BrO's, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Huge here for my good friends, the Godfather, Ronnie and Drew at Impact Power Sports. Now, they're located on 14 Mile Road in Rockford, just north of GR. They service the entire state, family-owned business. They've been in operation since 2015, and what they provide custom golf carts, or you need a golf cart for your home, the lake house, business, an event, ATVs, UTVs, e-bikes, and also they have the best service team in Michigan when it comes to fixing your golf cart, your ATV, your UTV, and more. What you need to do is follow Impact Power Sports on Facebook and also stop by and see the Godfather Andrew at Impact Power Sports on 14 Mile Road in Rockford, just north of GR. Go see the Godfather and Drew today at Impact Power Sports.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with MPerks at Meijer. Some delicious blueberries, money saved. A creamy treat of cookie dough ice cream, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also 10 points earned in MPerks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Sumo, sushi, and sake. May 31st at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Witness a thrilling sumo exhibition and enjoy a curated tasting of sushi, sake, and Asian-inspired cocktails. 2 premium VIP packages available, pricing as low as $59. Performance only. Full pricing options and details at SoaringEagleCasino.com. Experience sumo, sushi, and sake. 7 p.m. May 31st at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Van Andel Institute Purple Community is a grassroots fundraising network powered by the dedicated volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve human health now and in the future. When you raise funds through the Van Andel Institute Purple Community, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the Institute's research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's, as well as VAI's science education programs. Learn how you can get involved at purplecommunity.org.
18 after the hour. Welcome back. X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. I'm Matt Shepard. Thanks for joining us. And the Meyer Hotline is always open for you. It doesn't have to be about what we're currently talking about. You can pick up anything you want to discuss. 866-838-4843. Text the show Sports Radio to 21,000. Let's get to yesterday's poll question, and then we'll get to the daily wager as well before we dive into a little football discussion surrounding a guy who has turned into be enemy, I wouldn't say enemy number one. We used to have a lot of enemies back in the old days. I can't stand this guy. I can't wait to beat this guy. Brett Favre, Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay. I don't think there's that same vile you feel for Jordan Love. But there used to be, you can call it rivalries if you want, but there used to be certain individuals who are associated with the team. I can't wait to beat them. Let's go shut up Michael Irvin, shall we? That would be great. That's how people looked at it a lot of times. I can't wait to beat this team because of this guy. I think there's a certain person who has left Detroit and has now become, dare I say, enemy number one. We'll get to that coming up here on X's and Bros. So stay with us. Final results from yesterday's poll question. The poll question yesterday was pretty simple. Is Isaiah Stewart being unfairly labeled and punished by the NBA? He got 2 games suspension for the fight Sunday in Minnesota, while Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, Marcus Sasser, Ron Holland all received 1 game. But the NBA came out and, quote, said, listen, it's past history on this guy. He has had historical events of this type of behavior. So he gets an extra game. What did the people say, Trent?
63% believe that he was unfairly labeled and punished. 37% say no.
Okay. That's not a surprise. I thought it'd be a little bit higher.
I did too. I thought it'd be closer to 80.
Yeah, but it's not a surprise. All right, daily wager from yesterday. And what do we have tonight?
Yesterday, I had the Tigers minus 1.5 through 5 innings, and obviously they never had the lead, so that didn't hit. But tonight, I've got the Heat plus 4.5 versus the Grizzlies. Yes, there's no Tigers, there's no Pistons, so I got to go off the board.
There's
Heat
no
plus 4.5 versus the Grizzlies.
Tomorrow. So.
The Heat are 6-4 in their last 10. The Grizzlies are 2-8, and there's one of the coldest teams in the league. I like a close game. Heat might even win it, but if they're giving me 4.5 points, I'm going to take it for Miami.
Okay, so that's the daily wager. The Lions are, look, they've got a brutal road schedule. Even Dan Campbell admitted that he didn't say brutal, but it's daunting. We understand that. All right. Obviously, Detroit is going to play at Minnesota. They're going to play at Green Bay. They're going to play at Chicago as well. Ben Johnson, I enjoyed the 3 years with Ben Johnson here. You did too.
How could
you're
you
setting
not?
franchise records and you're establishing certain things within the NFL fraternity, you should be happy. And Ben Johnson was a very big part of it. He's the one calling the plays. Now, these guys got to execute it, right? So you should be happy with Jared Goff. You should be happy with all the offensive players who are executing that game plan. But they game plan well thought out. Ben Johnson is a very, very talented and skilled offensive coordinator. And I say that because I don't know what kind of head coach he's going to be. We don't know. There's been a lot of really good offensive coordinators in the history of the National Football League who have gone on to be head coaches, and people want them gone. Hi, Mike McCarthy. All right? Hi, Todd Haley. That happens. I don't know if there's been a quicker turn for one fan base for an individual coach on that coach after he left. Most, if they get a promotion and they get a head coaching gig, they're like, you know what? We knew we were going to lose him. We're going to miss him. We wish him well. Ben Johnson going to Chicago didn't help Detroit Lions fans ease into the next generation, right, of offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. It sure doesn't help when on your way out the door, you are, quote unquote, taking shots at some of the players who helped get you that job in the first place. I defended Ben Johnson. I wasn't upset that he went to Chicago. You take the best gig you can get. Nobody said last year that I can recall, oh, I feel bad for Ben Johnson. He should have taken that Washington job. I really wish he would have taken that. No, you wanted to keep him here because all you kept saying to me, at least, was good for him. He wants to see this through. He wants to be part of a Super Bowl. The Lions will be among the favorites to win the Super Bowl. He's going to be a big part of it. I love him for that. I love his loyalty, is what you kept saying. Turned on the Carolina job, said no to the Washington opportunity because it didn't really fit well with the owners. Maybe he regrets that. I don't know. But we all agreed a year ago, before the Lions went 15-2 and got a first-round bye and had the number one seed in the NFC, we all said, we're going to lose him because he's really good. So you knew he was good. We all admitted as much. But how he's handled his business since leaving has left a lot of Lions fans, including yours truly, looking a little cross-eyed and wondering, is this guy a D-bag? Or, I mean, what is it you're trying to accomplish here with some of the backhanded knocks against Detroit? Specifically, their quarterback, Jared Goff. We can complain about him on the surface of what we considered a poor playoff performance against Washington. But how dare you start to take shots at him? We can use talk show host time by saying, you know what? We need a more mobile quarterback. Every good team's got him, man. We need the second coming with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. We need guys who can rush for first downs. Damn it, we don't want just a pocket passer. But if Ben Johnson comes out and says something like that after he leaves Detroit, shame on you. You can't do that. So I'm guilty of that. But I've been a big believer in Jared Goff. I haven't been the guy who thinks you have to be able to run in order to be successful in the National Football League at the quarterback position. Here's what Johnson said the other day about the quarterback situation, leaving Detroit, and how some Lions fans now perceive him. Listen to this.
I've talked to Jared about it. Sometimes your comments get skewed a little bit. That was not my intent. He certainly understands that. It was more directed towards Caleb and what he brings to the table.
What that is in regards to the quote that he had about Caleb Williams. Maybe we got caught up in the emotion. But remember, here's the quote. As much as you want to make it pure progression, 1 to 2 to 3, there's just too much variety. The pass rush is coming down, and to have an athlete like Caleb Williams extend the play and potentially find an explosive down the field, that's what gets me going a little bit. I get excited thinking about that because I haven't really been around that since I've been in the league. Now, he said, but I've been on the other side and I've experienced it, and it's demoralizing on the other side when you're watching that happen to your defense. Did we read too much into that where we are almost looking to be offended because a guy left us for a division rival? That is possible. I leave the door open to that. But if you don't feel like that is a backhanded stab at one of your former players, why do you feel the need to call and apologize? And don't think that we're overreacting when a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown, a player in the league, a guy who is loyal to Ben Johnson because of what he's meant to his career, actually said that gives us more fire when we play the Bears. So even he took it that way. Boy, communication is so important, isn't it? Especially in today's day and age. That's why it's important to get the verbal part of it instead of an email or a text or something along those lines. Get your thoughts on it on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843, or you can text our show. It's Sports Radio to 21,000. Love talking sports with you Monday through Friday. Speaking of football, is there such a thing as too much? Well, the NFL might be dipping its toe into something that might be considered way too much. I think it is. We'll discuss on the other side. Stay with us.
Saturday, July 26th, Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, Foreigner. Live at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort with special guests Loverboy and Night Ranger. Tickets start at $32 and are on sale now at the box office or online at etix.com. The Soaring Eagle Summer Outdoor Concert Series welcomes Foreigner with Loverboy and Night Ranger July 26. Showtime 7 p.m. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
In the Den with Dan Dickerson.
Step up to the plate at Eagle Casino and Sports, the mobile sportsbook app that you can bet on all your favorites all year round, including, of course, our national pastime. So download the app and start winning today at Eagle Casino and Sport. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Must be 21 years or older and in Michigan to play.
One of the biggest things a young hitter has to learn how to do in the major leagues is coming up with a game plan. What will your approach be against today's starting pitcher? How are you going to attack them? How are they going to attack you? It's a lot. And we saw young Tiger hitters struggle with some of the concepts last year. But that experience has clearly helped this year. Those rookies now have a better understanding of how to prepare, how to adjust their approach at bat to at bat. And it shows in how the Tigers are getting into games this year. Through 5 games, opposing starting pitchers have faced 78 Tigers batters. 37 have reached with a hit or a walk. Success against the starter, a great sign for the weeks ahead.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
think I'm a lot like you. I love football. I love sports in general, but I love football. And I used to think, I can't get enough of it. And I need to kind of check myself. I can't get enough of the NFL or good college football. There's something going on right now that the NFL is thinking about that turns me off. And I think it's overboard. I think it's too much. We'll get to that here in a moment. Let's get to the phone lines. Meyer Hotline, 866-838-4843. On a Thursday morning, who's up next?
It's Freddie, wants to talk about the importance of mobile quarterbacks in this day and age.
Hey, Freddie, what's going on?
Hey, good morning, Shep.
Good morning.
Real quickly on the Tigers. Every year we can count on in spring training the story. Miggy's in the best shape of his life, right? Well,
right, yeah.
Tomorrow will be the annual Heather Novosny segment. She's going to have some green grass to grow. She's going to have some green grass tomorrow with all this rain.
Absolutely. Or after a concert. Metallica played here last night, and look at how good the grass looks. Look, I'm guilty of it too. So you're 100% right. Yeah, that's all good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope the faucets turn off for tomorrow opening day. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, me too. I hope you and other people, really benefit from it and get a chance to go down there. It's funny you say that about Novosny. We were looking, I don't know, I would say 7 years ago or so. They were looking for a story, and I happened to be the reporter during the Tigers broadcast, and I went out as part of the crew, part of the grounds crew, and changed the bases at second base, or maybe it was first base. I forget.
Yeah.
But it was kind of cool, and I couldn't stop thinking about the fact that, do we do this every year? Do we use the grounds crew, because they work hard, they deserve a lot of credit? Do we use that as a story idea every single year? Probably. Is it unique? Nope. But it's something people seem to like just about every single season. So it's a good point by you. What else is on your mind?
Yeah, and I'll pay big money to watch you steal first, the second. I'll tell you that. I would love to see that.
You might need a stretcher afterwards. You might need a stretcher.
So I'm not saying Ben Johnson is innocent here, but I will say this about Lions fans. I'm guilty as well too. I mean, until the Lions win an actual Super Bowl, Lions fans are just going to be out of control, no matter one way or the other. And I'm the same way. I'm the guy that said 15 wins meant nothing last year because they lost a playoff game. I've seen it all my life.
Yeah.
So, if Dan Campbell would have taken the Texas A&M job a couple years ago when it was rumored, they would have turned on him too. So they turned on Ben Wallace to go to Chicago, you name it. So, but these are the same fans that want the same free agents to come here, but no, we can't lose ours. It's silly. But Steve Young, one of my top 3 favorite quarterbacks of all time, he was out last week saying, today's modern day NFL, a running quarterback is so crucial. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, he doesn't say necessarily a guy that constantly runs, but a guy that can get you that third and fourth, third and fifth in a crucial moment of the game. And I always go back to Brock Purdy making that huge play in the playoff game with his legs around Aiden Hutchinson and pretty much sealed that game. And when you hear from a guy like Steve Young, to me, it means a lot, because this is a guy that had the incredible arm, had the incredible legs, won a Super Bowl, and just had an incredible career. Obviously lost by concussions. So I am a believer that, a mobile quarterback is not necessary, but at least one that can get that crucial first down.
Yeah, I think, my friend Rob Rubik used to put it really well. All right. He says, I don't want a running quarterback. I want a quarterback who can run. In other words, he throws to run instead of run to throw. In other words, you're going to respect him because he can run, but his most dangerous weapon is his ability to throw the football. There are exceptions. I think you're right about this. I think there are more and more teams recognizing this type of dual threat, if you will. Now, there are exceptions. Joe Burrow, Matthew Stafford. Those are two guys, for example. Last year, it's small sample size. Sam Darnold, to a certain extent, right? I don't think a guy like Justin Herbert, although he's been knocked because of his playoff performances, Jared Goff, obviously. Who's the ideal guy? Because if you're going to say in order to win a Super Bowl, this is what you have to have, well, then Lamar Jackson is not going to win you a Super Bowl. Or, I mean, Lamar Jackson is probably the exception to that rule because he hasn't won a Super Bowl. He's 2-5 in his career in the playoffs, and yet he's the most mobile quarterback the league has ever had. Or best running quarterback. Let me rephrase that. He's the best running quarterback. I think the perfect example is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers in his prime. Aaron Rodgers could get you that first down. It would scare you enough. It would freeze a backer or a safety who might be coming up to get because of his ability to throw, but also his ability to throw on the run and his ability to run for that first down. I am not suggesting you go way back to the time machine and get the second coming of a guy like Bart Starr. But Brett Favre couldn't necessarily run all that well either. But remember, Fran Tarkenton back in the day, people knocked him constantly because of his ability to run and scramble more than anything else, which is the difference. So it's an interesting debate. It really is.
Yeah, and we can, and it's a lot. And we can have another discussion about this, but we can kind of blame the college game because these coaches, they're being brought in for millions of dollars and they're getting fired so fast that where can I get a guy that can run and throw it right away to give me some wins so I don't get fired right away? And they're not developing these guys. They're not developing their arms correctly. But that's a whole nother discussion. And,
I don't know what to. And thanks for the phone call, Freddie. Always a pleasure. I don't know what. When you say they're not developing their arms, in what way? Like, I think Trevor Lawrence was a hell of a quarterback at Clemson. He's had a great arm. Did he develop? He developed enough to be a 1-1. And he wasn't necessarily a running quarterback, right? So, I mean, Will Howard won the national championship with Ohio State last year. I wouldn't call him a running quarterback, but he could do what you just wanted. He could run for a first down. J.J. McCarthy, the year before, won a national championship with Michigan. He could run for a first down. Michael Penix, on the other hand, Washington 2 years ago, not really mobile. Great arm, not very mobile. Still a first-round pick. I don't know, man. It's Bryce Young. Pretty damn mobile at Alabama, don't you think? Absolutely. I mean, if that's the case, do you draft Justin Milroe in the first round? I don't think we're taking it to one extreme or the other. I think what you're basically saying is you'd like to have that balance.
It's nice to have the option there.
But I still want a guy who can throw because the ultimate job is your ability to throw. Are you looking at Baker Mayfield? Last year we had this debate, and the debate was, should Baker Mayfield be in the conversation for MVP? And I thought he should be because he threw for 4,600 yards. He threw for 41 touchdowns. He's the primary reason that team won its division. I thought he should have been in the conversation, not winning it, but in the conversation. You thought of him more as a passer than as a runner. But coming out of Oklahoma, he was that dual threat guy, right? We can't sit there and just use everything as the obvious always, because it's not always. Otherwise, Johnny Manziel would have been really freaking good. Deshaun Watson would have worked out for Cleveland, right? It's not the way it works. Our phone number is 866-838-4843. And you can text us, Sports Radio, to 21,000. Let's get to a text. Fire away.
Shep, since 3 MSU players are going to hit the transfer portal and Jace Richardson might be leaving for the pros, do you think Izzo will be forced to get some players from the portal to keep up? Michigan has already added 2 from the portal. Even if Izzo does not like the transfer portal, will he need to use it?
Well, he has used it. He used it last year. Zappala, Fiddler. So it's not that he's opposed to it. I think this is a really good question. I think in today's day and age, you're going to have to use it to some sort. I don't think he wants to use it to the extent where my program is built on it. And I applaud him for that. I do. I think there's so many people who want the quick fix, and they feel like I'll be honest with you, this is a huge reason why I was rooting for them so much. Like, Trent's rooting for him because he's a Michigan State grad. That's fine. Okay. I'm rooting for him because I want him to be able to flip the middle finger to everybody who says the only way you win a championship these days is by the transfer portal. We're not going to look at, God forbid, Cooper Flagg, you actually recruit him, bring him on, and he plays and helps lead you to a national championship. God forbid you do that, right? Everybody feels like, here's what you got to go do. They're going to complain on one side, I'm so sick and tired of paying players. And then they're going to say, you know what? In order for State to win another national championship, Shep, they're going to have to go out and get players. So we got to pay them. And then when they don't, you're going to go, God, would you get with the times already? Which is it? Stay consistent if you can. I really appreciated what Michigan State did this year. I really did. I mean, it's a big reason I wanted them to at least get to the Final Four, to tell everybody, you know what? We did it. If you want to use the word old school or phrase old school, go ahead. But we did it the way, I know, we did it my way in New York. Tom Izzo did it the way he's always done it. Which is it? As a 70-year-old who's a Hall of Fame coach, has more wins in Big Ten history than anybody else, has a national championship, and has done it this way. We're going to criticize a guy because he hasn't evolved. He has evolved. You don't coach as long as he has if you don't evolve. He just hasn't gotten to the part that you and everybody else feels is necessary, and that is that transfer portal. He's done it. He just hasn't done it with, quote, unquote, the really big names. And you want that big name. And you're willing to sacrifice just about everything you possibly can to try and get it. He's not.
But to your point, he did do it with 2 rotational guys last year. 2 guys that I know MSU ran deep. They played 10 guys, but 2 of those 10 were transfers.
Yeah. One of the guys was, I think you get there without Zapala. All right. But Fiddler, he was an important piece. Yeah. Okay.
But Zapala started many games.
But I'll tell you, if he continues to go on this path, and he's recruiting and developing these guys, recruiting them and then getting them ready for the draft and developing and so on and so forth, I don't have an issue with it. I don't know if that wins you a national championship or not. Who says that you have to do it that way? Who says there are different ways you can build a championship roster in the professional leagues, right? Trade, draft, free agency. In college, you're not trading, right? So it's either recruit and develop, or it's the transfer portal. He's no doubt going to do a little bit of both. But the primary point that he's going to continue to make is I want to bring in guys and I want to develop them. It's always comical to me. I want guys who want to be here. But you're willing to grab a portal guy who's coming here for one primary reason: money. Your alum, your donors can give me more than anybody else. You think he's there because he wants to be there? Or you think he's there primarily because of the money? I think more people should applaud the way Tom Izzo went about it. It's not easy. This is a really difficult coaching landscape in all sports. To try and bring guys in, sell them on your program, your beliefs, your style, and then keep them there. Where it used to be, I'm going to go recruit Trent Bally, and I know I'm going to have him for an extended period of time. There was an evolution where as a freshman, you couldn't play. Lou Alcindor, Bill Walton, Pete Maravich. Then they waive that. And then it's, anybody can play. And then it's, hey, NBA, 18, you can go and play in the league. You don't even have to go to college. Then it goes back the other way. Well, you got to play at least 1 year in college, which is, the way it is now. And now you're looking at a situation where there are so many ways you can, I suppose, improve, but you can also screw up.
Well, there's no penalty for transferring. I shouldn't say there's no penalty, but you
There
know what
isn't.
I'm saying. You
no
don't have to
penalty.
sit out a year.
No, and that's the way it used to be. You used to have to at least sit out 1 year before you transfer. I'm not suggesting they go back that way. I just like the fact that you still have a coach who's willing to say, you know what? This is the way I've been successful. Yes, I have adapted. That's obvious that he's adapted throughout. Maybe not as much as you would like. You and I have a hard time adapting as fans.
Yeah.
It's really difficult for you and I to sit there and go, you know what? I like this portal situation. I love this NIL.
So
do you know
different.
anybody? Do you know anybody who likes the portal or likes the NIL? Or has it turned them off from college athletics? Do you? Yes or no?
Outside of Colin Cowherd, no.
No, I said people. No, I said people.
People
you
I know, no.
Yeah, okay. I don't think you know Colin Cowherd. Maybe
I
you
don't.
do, and I could be reading.
No, I was making a joke because
anybody you know. I don't know anybody who likes it. In fact, I think it's turned them off to college sports. But then we've got a guy who says, I'm with you, man. I'm with you, Trent. I want to get the guys who have dreamed of being a Spartan, want to play here, and are committed to me, the program, the school, and their teammates. And then what do? Man, I really wish you'd dive into that portal, dude. I mean, that's how you're going to win a national championship. Are we afraid to stand up for the people we think who have a little morality and a little more righteousness? I'm not putting them on a pedestal. I'm just asking. I don't think we are. Because in the end, it's what? You got to win. You got to win the big one. You got to win the national championship. That's what you got to do. I don't know how many people are praising any Big Ten guys who've been there for a while. First team All-American. Brandon Smith, right? For Purdue. First team All-American. Anybody praising him that he's been there? Nope, I don't think so. They're probably ridiculing, saying that they need more. We didn't get to the NFL and the flag football thing, but maybe we'll do that tomorrow, okay? Craig Monroe is going to join us tomorrow. Hope you can join us, 6 till 9 here on X's and Bros. Don't forget Bill Simonson live from Soaring Eagle later on this afternoon to draw the winner of Tigers opening day tickets. Have a great rest of your Thursday, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
In the Den with Dan Dickerson.
Step up to the plate at Eagle Casino and Sports, the mobile sportsbook app that you can bet on all your favorites all year round, including, of course, our national pastime. So download the app and start winning today at Eagle Casino and Sport. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Must be 21 years or older and in Michigan to play.
One of the biggest things a young hitter has to learn how to do in the major leagues is coming up with a game plan. What will your approach be against today's starting pitcher? How are you going to attack them? How are they going to attack you? It's a lot. And we saw young Tiger hitters struggle with some of the concepts last year. But that experience has clearly helped this year. Those rookies now have a better understanding of how to prepare, how to adjust their approach at bat to at bat. And it shows in how the Tigers are getting into games this year. Through 5 games, opposing starting pitchers have faced 78 Tigers batters. 37 have reached with a hit or a walk. Success against the starter, a great sign for the weeks ahead.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. And if you missed any of today's show, be sure to check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts.